We're pouring billions and billions of dollars into cybersecurity, but somehow massive data breaches are still a constant, unavoidable headline. So what gives? The problem isn't a lack of tools, and it's not a shortage of smart people. As we're going to see, the real issue is a critical internal breakdown in communication. Let's dive in.
And believe it or not, this is not a new problem. Way back in 2015, the Ponemon Institute was already sounding the alarm, saying that the very trust our digital world is built on was at a breaking point. And once that trust starts to crumble, well, the whole system feels incredibly shaky.
And the scale of this, it's just staggering. I mean, we're talking about more than 2 billion stolen records from just a handful of major breaches. And that number, it just keeps on climbing.
And I want to be super clear here. These are not just abstract numbers on a screen. Each and every one of those numbers represents something deeply personal: a social security number, a private email, your credit card information. The ripple effect from this stuff impacts pretty much every single one of us.
Okay, so we've got this billion record problem. Huge, right? But what if the real culprit isn't some super sophisticated new hack or a single fatal flaw? What if it's a deep, structural disconnect inside the very companies that are supposed to be protecting our data?
All right, this is where we really get to the heart of it. A lot of research suggests that corporate cybersecurity is dangerously broken up into 3 distinct separate silos. 3 different worlds, basically operating in their own little bubbles.
Just think about that for a second. 3 different teams, all with the word security in their job description, but they're speaking different languages, they're looking at different metrics, and they're chasing totally different goals. It is a perfect recipe for critical threats to fall right through the cracks. So let's meet the team, shall we?
First up, you've got the C-suite, the executive view. They live in this world of risk management and controls policy. For them, security is all about business risk. We're talking compliance, budgets, and of course, legal liability. What they're really asking is, are we compliant? And if something bad happens, what's our financial exposure?
Next, you've got the architects. These are the folks living in the world of systems and networks infrastructure. Think of them as the builders of the company's digital fortress. They're managing the servers, the networks, all the core systems, making sure that foundation is solid and secure.
And finally, you have the frontline soldiers, the technicians, and the penetration testers. Their world is all about network protocols and analysis tools. These are your ethical hackers, the people down in the digital trenches, actively finding and fixing specific holes before the bad guys can get through them.
Okay, so you've got these 3 groups, right? The execs, the architects, the testers, all in their separate worlds. The problem is pretty obvious. The solution isn't to build higher walls around each silo. It's about building a common bridge to connect them.
And the solution proposed in the source material is what's called an integrated framework. Now, don't let the fancy words fool you. Just think of it like a 3-layered bridge. At the very top, you've got enterprise risk management. That's the big picture executive strategy. In the middle, you've got the systems and networks risk. And at the foundation, you get really granular, looking at the specific financial and data level risks. The magic is how they all connect.
Really, the key word here is translation. This framework lets an executive's abstract concern, like financial risk, get translated into a very concrete, specific task for a pen tester. And just as important, the pen tester's technical findings can be translated back up into a clear business case the exec can actually understand and act on. It's a 2-way street, and that is absolutely vital.
So to really see why this connection is a game changer, let's look at a classic conflict that plays out in companies every single day. We'll call it the pen tester's dilemma.
I mean, on the surface, this question sounds kind of silly, right? Of course you should test your defenses. But from inside these disconnected silos, that very simple question, is it worth it, creates a huge amount of tension and conflict.
So here's how the executive sees it. Imagine you're that executive. A big, fat report listing every single security flaw, that's not helpful. That's a nightmare. Why? Because if the company gets breached, that report becomes Exhibit A in a lawsuit, proving they knew about the problems and didn't fix them. From a purely legal point of view, ignorance can feel a whole lot safer.
Okay, but now let's flip the script and look at it from the tech's point of view. They're on the front lines. They know the network is vulnerable. For them, the only way to get the budget and the resources they need to fix things is to create a big, scary report that forces management to pay attention. They need to show, not just tell, how bad things are.
So you see the standoff, right? One person's legal liability is another person's essential tool. They are at a total impasse. And this is exactly where that integrated framework we talked about completely changes the game.
What this framework does is it creates a shared language, a language of risk that everyone understands. All of a sudden, pen testing isn't just some technical audit. It becomes a strategic tool that's directly linked to the company's biggest risks. Executives can finally see exactly how these tests protect the business. And the testers? Well, they can finally see how their day-to-day work adds real value to the company's bottom line. That report goes from being a source of conflict to a shared roadmap for success.
And this right here is the big payoff. Security transforms from being a reactive cost center, the Department of No, into a proactive, strategic partner in the business. It literally turns a potential legal liability into a powerful tool for making smarter, safer decisions.
And that brings us to the final, really powerful question you should be asking in your own organization. Is your security team just busy, or are they truly accountable? Because without that bridge connecting the top floor to the server room, you might just have a lot of activity without any real progress. The key takeaway here is simple. Only by connecting these worlds can you turn all that busy work into genuine, enterprise-wide security.